Welcome to Jurassic Park.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
I'm just a fucked up girl who's looking for my own peace of mind.
Welcome to the party, pal.
I'll be back.
I'll have what she's having.
Death has come to your little town, Sheriff. You can either ignore it, or you can help me to stop it.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello, I'm your host, Jim McClean. Welcome back to another episode of More Than Pixels on a Screen, a spoilerific podcast brought to you by the Banterflix movie review website. We look for the deeper meaning in all things cinematic. There will be spoilers, tangents, and digressions aplenty, but that's what you're here for, listeners. That's what you're here for. So, on this episode, we are going to finally get back to something that we started a long time ago, and in true Banterflix / More Than Pixels on a Screen style, it's taken our time, a bit like the director himself we're going to be talking about. We are continuing our James Cameron retrospective. We've already done Avatar 2, we've done True Lies, we've done Titanic, and now, to celebrate the film's re-release or impending re-release, we're going to be talking about his 1989 classic, The Abyss. And joining me as we continue our deep dive, see what I did there, Joe? It's the wonderful deputy editor, Adam Neeson's favourite person, Joe Mc Elroy.
Good evening, Jim. And I'm already worried that we're just going to be just filling this thing with like underwater puns. And yeah, James Cameron's going to absolutely love it if he's listening. But who knows? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't.
James Cameron goes deep when he goes for The Abyss.
Yep.
I can't think of anything else. So yes, we're going to be talking about the film. So basically, in a nutshell, Joe, the one girl that plays Maid Marian hangs out with the one fella that's in The Rock, who's the bad guy, but he's not really a bad guy because he's kind of doing it for a good reason. They end up hanging about with some weird old UFO gribblies that look like they might have been in The Phantom Menace, but they weren't in The Phantom Menace. And then, depending which version you watched, love saves the day.
It kind of does both ways, but in the version that you're referring to, yeah, it's very heavy-handed in that respect.
Yes, that's my abbreviated. I'm actually quite proud of that.
I'm just glad you didn't ask me to explain it.
Oh yes,
I hate doing that.
Michael Biehn's there as well.
Aye, he's a bit jittery. He can't handle being underwater.
He crazy. He cray. But yes, so that's kind of a bit of a chat about The Abyss. I was watching this today, Joe, and I don't know the last time I saw this film. And I think we need to clarify right from the get-go. We're talking about the original theatrical cut. It's not the special edition. That is what you and I have both alluded to. Love. And I think when I was watching that scene on YouTube, because that's the only way I can get it. I don't have the special edition on DVD. But I was just thinking of that bit from The Simpsons. Love.
What? You mean Mr. Burns? Mr. Burns. When he's eliminated. Yeah. I bring you love. It's bringing love, bring its legs.
That's exactly the scene I was thinking about. But I'm sure that James Cameron, in his way, in the same way that Rocky can bring an end to the Cold War, love can bring an end, and weird Thon CGI watery gribblies can save the day.
They kind of look like one of the ghosts from Muppets Christmas Carol. You know what one I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just that translucent sort of floaty thing. I was like, aye, that's straight from the Muppets.
There you go, James. That we know where you get your ideas from. Although I think this was released before Christmas Carol.
Maybe not. But I just like to think
maybe that's how clever James was.
He snuck in the Disney's.
We know he likes time travel.
We're
on to you, James.
More on that later.
Cameron, we're on to you. So, yes, I watched the alternative ending. I don't know what way this is going to work, because as we've kind of alluded to, so this is getting finally, it's getting remastered, lovely new 4K restoration. I think they've went back to the negatives. I've seen a little bit of stuff on James Cameron talking about this online. I think he was at, was it the Beyond Festival or some festival in the States? He was talking a little bit about this in this process. It's taken its time. I remember very vividly watching this years, and I mean years ago. I haven't seen this film for at least a decade. So kind of watching it for this pod was almost like watching it afresh and anew. And I think the version I saw when I was 10, well, not when I was 10, but the version I probably was 10, given when the film was released, but I think I'd only ever seen the special edition because I remember vividly the tidal wave sequence that we're kind of alluding to. And I was like, what the fuck's Don tidal waves going to show up in this? Like, all right, everybody seems to be happy and a good place. Our lads back with Maid Marian. I went online. It's like, all right, yeah, of course, the special edition, that's the change because there is the two different versions. We know that Cameron does this. He's done this with Aliens as well. I don't think he ever calls them director's cut, does he? I think they're always referred to. I think Aliens was referred
he just calls them preferred versions, but like they obviously just label them director's cut, so you can tell the difference between the two.
Yeah. Would you say? I know we haven't even got round to playing a clip yet, but it's weird the way when you think of Aliens, and I know in this retrospective we will get round to heading to LV426, if I remember that off the top of my head. I'm such a nerd. But that version of the film is now just, that special edition director's cut is just seen as Aliens now. I remember a couple of years ago, we didn't put it on, it was somewhere else, I think it was at the Strand, and they screened the theatrical cut. I was like, this is weird. I mean, it's different, and I prefer the director's cut of Aliens, which is interesting when we juxtapose it with the film we're talking about on this pod. Yeah. I don't know, I rambled there. I went off on a bit of a kind of Randy. I went off on a bit of a ramble. So I don't know where you want to pick up from that. I mean, do you remember when you first watched this? I must have been probably early teens, not even teens, maybe 13, 14 when I seen this. And I remember vividly being obsessed with it and watching it again tonight in the run up to this pod. I don't know why I was obsessed with it. Not to say I don't like the film. I don't know why I would have loved the film at the time. Anyway, feel free to pick up whatever you want from that, Joe.
No, I'm sort of like yourself in terms of when I first seen it. I was sort of it was one of those films that was constantly in rotation and said like Channel 4 or even RT2, like it was always on. And like yourself, I would always just feel compelled, I need to watch this. And I would just sit and watch the whole thing. Now, the version I'd seen then didn't have the big tidal wave.
Love.
Yes, no love. Oh, and just on that, do you ever notice in the foreground of the tidal wave at the beach, some fella goes over to another fella and pulls his pants down? So you see, and so I wonder if we'll get that in glorious 4K, that fella's arse.
Yeah.
But I think...
You would, though.
I think Jim might scrub it out.
You would?
Like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You'd probably piss off James Cameron. But
one last prank. Yeah. You have to go for it. It's like that kid in Teen Wolf that he gets his schlong out in Michael J. Fox. Yeah.
I forgot about that till you brought it up. But yeah, going to be checking that out.
Not the slong, I want to clarify.
No, I'm just going to be checking that.
There's it there.
You're on about Randy ramblings and slongs, so
yeah.
Is that what the Abyss does to you?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
What can I say? Going down to 17,000 feet, it has that effect to me.
Wonderful.
Michael Biehn just goes a bit loop-de-loop and just sits under a table and wants to cut himself. I just want to pull someone's pants down.
Wonderful.
As a big kind of tidal wave approaches.
Of course, the world's going to end. What else are you going to do? Is like, here, if it's going to end, I'm going to have a laugh.
Joe, if you could do one last prank, what would it be?
That. Really just like, you know what? Best mates beside me. We're going to die. Like, here.
Yoink.
Everyone's going to have a wee look at your arse.
You are not going to die with dignity.
No.
Why?
There's no point. No one's going to remember anything. The whole world's going to be wiped out by a giant tidal wave. So,
but then, this is what you got to think about this though, Joe.
Yeah.
What happens then if Ed Harris is somewhere with, a group of aliens and they're all kind of having a look and they're like looking back at his DMs and his messages and they go, well, Joe sent a wee message to Catherine there saying, I love you. And they'll be like, stop it all. And you're left sitting there beside him going, sorry, mate, I'll help you pull your pants back up.
I just making it even an awkward situation more awkward. It's like, here, no, just leave them. No, I'll just pull them up. And yeah. Well, I don't know. What would you do? What would your prank be? The world's end and you've got 10 seconds. What do you do?
No innuendo intended. A wet willy. A wet willy. Just,
well, it'll be pretty fucking wet in a few seconds.
That would probably be what I'd say as well. Because probably if I was there with my lovely wife and I was like, right, one last go, I'd be like, boink. And she'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake, what are you doing? I'd say something like, well, you're about to get soaking in a minute. Yo! Sorry, I'm
famous
hyper.
last words.
I'm fucking raging if then fucking my messages. That one time I sent my lovely wife a message going, "You're all right," like.
Because there's a news crew there as well. Remember your fellas with the camera? So he just points at you. He's like, so this was going to be this man's dying moments with his wife. It's just to give her wet willy.
Yeah, there we go. And just that guy going, how are you feeling right now? I feel violated, blah, blah, blah. I feel rejoiced that we're living, but also violated, and I want to speak to a lawyer.
And yeah, that's...
Do you know what it's a bit like? It's a bit like that film Force Majeure.
Oh yeah, is that the one with the guy... There's just an avalanche.
Not the terrible one not the terrible remake with Will Ferrell.
There was a remake?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's not funny.
Didn't know. But yeah, the idea of the avalanche, and he, instead of trying to do something to help his family, just bolts out of the lodge or whatever they're at.
We have already digressed. I mean, we're in a tangent. So what are we, like, 12 minutes in? We've went from The Abyss to we're in Force Majeure.
Yes, but the thing about Force Majeure, it's a snow setting, and snow when it melts becomes water.
Yep.
So let's go back to the rig in The Abyss, which is underwater.
That big Thawne underwater rig. Yes. So I think on that point, I think at this opportunity to play a clip of the film.
An American nuclear submarine went down. Your company has authorized the Navy's use of this facility for a rescue.
My people are not qualified for this. We're oil workers.
Lieutenant Koff will transfer it down to you with a SEAL team.
You'll do absolutely nothing without direct orders from me.
There is something down there. Something not us. Not human.
Please, you have to trust me. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. We all see what we want to see. He sees hate and fear. You have to look with better eyes than that.
So that's a clip of The Abyss. So we've kind of rambled our way through our little bit of a chat about the film. This is the third film, fourth if you count Piranha 2. Although technically, didn't Cameron get sacked from that job?
Yeah, he sort of like was being a bit too sort of controlling in the way that he is. Mm-hmm. But when you're doing that in a Corman production, you're like, nah, you can't do it. You have to be fast, quick and lean and stuff.
Did I read right? And maybe I haven't. Maybe it was Terminator. Did he have the idea for The Abyss when he was making Piranha?
He may as well.
Fuck it. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Maybe he did. We'll rewrite history. He did.
Yeah.
Then he came up with Titanic. It didn't happen. He made it up.
When he was deep underwater, he was like, fuck it, let's do a bit of Titanic here when he's, filling oil. Ed Harris with him going, keep filling that oil spacesuit with a bit more water. Yes, because
I would just keep killing you there, Ed.
Because the interesting thing about this film, I know a lot of people love working with James Cameron. Not a lot of people talk positively about making this film, and you can kind of see that when you watch it. Kind of the fact so much water was involved. I know Ed Harris. We just made that joke. He hasn't kind of talked positively about me. He doesn't. I don't think
he doesn't talk about it at all.
No, he's not negative about the film. I don't believe. I think it's just the kind of
the process of it,
film and all. And you can kind of see that. I would imagine that would be rather, Julian, because you did more research than me. You actually watched the documentary Under Pressure.
Yeah.
Which is on YouTube.
Yes. If you just
I don't know why I'm pointing at you, but I'm pointing at you.
So very accusatory.
So you watched the documentary about that, so maybe you might be more knowledgeable about certain aspects when we're chatting a bit about this. But I would imagine the documentary, unsurprisingly, will talk a little bit about the filming process.
Well, the thing about it is, it's just like one of those behind the scenes things. So it doesn't like go out of its way to like, oh, what's controversially happening on the set. It's like, no, this is the day-to-day of what happened. Basically, they had two big tankers. And
we got wet.
Yeah, that's it. They found these two tankers, filled them with water, shot it there, but it was a disaster because they tried to block out the light, and then the tarp tore, so then had to start going in the night shoots, and then obviously the pressures of working underwater as well. Like, I think actors were underwater for like 5 to 6 hours, whereas James Cameron was underwater for 12 hours a day.
Didn't want to come up.
No, he's like, there's no point, I'll just hang about here. But that's the thing, when they were underwater, they could only shoot for like 20 minutes, so they had to spend 4 hours just sitting there between setups, and that it was just a nightmare in that respect. And then, like you say, with Ed Harris, there's that moment, I can't remember the exact scene in the film, but he nearly drowned, and once he resurfaced, he just decked James Cameron. And he's like, don't ever put me through that again. I think he said...
James was like, oh, we didn't have the cameras turned on, you've got to go back down.
What's it? I might be paraphrasing his quote, but he said, people asking me about what working in a business like is like asking a soldier what it was like serving in Vietnam. He's like, he just really hated it. And the same goes for Mary Elizabeth, I can never pronounce her surname, so apologies.
Maid Marian.
Yeah, we'll just call her Maid Marian, unfortunately. No offense to the actress, but yeah, she had similar experiences, especially the scene where she's being resuscitated. Like, she literally went off stage like, I can't do this anymore, because what happened was halfway through shooting that scene, and it was perfect, all went well, film stock ran out, and there's like, sorry guys, we're going to have to reset it, we're going to have to do it again. She's like, I can't do this. So if you actually watch that scene, it's all just Ed Harris's reaction, because she didn't do the scene again. It was understandable. Like, you think about the nature scene, Ed Harris battering the frig out of your chest and giving you mouth to mouth. It's very full on, but I shouldn't really be laughing at it, but it's just the intensity.
We're bad people.
I know, I can't help it. And then obviously James Cameron nearly died as well making it. He nearly drowned. And when the people were trying to save him, but he was like, no, I know what I'm doing. Don't try and rescue me. I'm rescuing myself. And then once he surfaced, he fired the 2 people that inadvertently tried to kill him by reviving him.
Oh,
so,
James.
Yeah,
but there is
disaster.
Weird things about the film you think. I don't think, off the top of my head, is this, until of course his untimely passing, I don't think Bill Paxton's in this.
No. And I don't see, when you actually think about it, who would he actually played? Maybe just one of the crew members or something like that?
You would expect him just to kind of pop up somewhere.
Yeah. And I don't know why, because then there's all them Titanic documentaries where he's gladly going underwater with James Cameron experiencing that. So I don't think that's a factor.
I can't remember if we talked about this. Maybe we did on the Titanic pod. But isn't there the famous story about the 2 of them, they were underwater on the submarine when 9/11 happened? I can't remember if we talked about this in the pod.
Yeah, no, I don't think we did, but it was Bill Paxton. He was above water at the time, and then James Cameron just resurfaced from a dive, and he's like, oh, Jim, you'll not believe it. It's like, what? They took out the Twin Towers, and he's like, what? Can you just imagine how something that would happen?
That's
crazy.
I had misremembered. Maybe I'd misremembered. I had thought that they were having their lunch or something over the bow of the wreckage, and then when they came up, they were told, oh, 9/11's happened.
I'm only basic because I watched it fairly recently. I actually watched it before we did the Titanic one.
You're just an old swat, Joe.
And sometimes
I just come here.
Sometimes
and
I don't actually watch them. I just listen to them like they're audio
Sometimes
things.
I come in here. I used to come in here with notes.
I love that stuff.
Pages upon pages of notes, and now I'm just like, wing it. Yeah. What's the name of the film we're talking about 5 minutes in?
Force majeure.
Yeah, that's possible. Why? But and also, it's weird. I mean, because the scores vary on Cameron, because Alan Silvestri doing the score, and it's not.
That's
James
what I thought was weird.
Horner.
It's when you listen to it, there's like cues in it. You're like, oh, that sounds a bit like the Titanic. You would like the certain steel drums hitting and stuff like that, and the sort of strings and all that there. But at the same time, I didn't know it was Alan Silvestri till after the film, in the credits. But I just was under the impression, James Horner done it, and I was like, nope.
Yeah, because I think he always scored. And well, actually, I suppose Brad Friedel, he did the 2 Terminator films. Because you always think of, there's certain people, it's like Spielberg, Williams. You always kind of think. But those were little very quick observations just at the start. So rewatching it earlier today for the pod, I can't remember. Genuinely, as I said earlier in my rambly introduction, cannot remember the last time I watched this film. Genuinely can't. And watching it today, I mean, it's 2 hours, 20 minutes is the version we're talking about, which is the theatrical cut. I know we'll kind of dip and dive and kind of alternate between, I'm sure we've already done the main thing that's the difference with the special edition. I think the only really other difference is it plays more into the Cold War paranoia. I think, I mean, that's more, and there's more between the relationship between Bud and Lindsay, I think, in their kind of digressions, because she's a stone cold bitch, if I get the phrase right.
Oh yeah, that's what she's known as soon as she arrives on ship. Yeah,
because I do love that sequence, all the guys, all the kind of grunts getting out of the helicopter.
The Navy SEALs.
And then you just see kind of her getting down on, she's got the I sound like such a perv, the heels, the tights, the dress. Oh, Jesus, boy, I'm nearly going for it here. And it's
the randiness coming out again.
Oh, Jesus, boy, will you see King of Castle Street with Marty with this voice?
Oh, Jesus.
But it's a great shot. I mean, I guess now, looking back in 2023, is it dated? I don't know. I don't think it is.
I think it's perfectly fine. That's what James Cameron does really well. In general, it's like a character introduction with no dialogue.
Yeah.
Just look at Rose in Titanic, or even Leo in Titanic as well.
The
Terminator himself.
The door in Titanic.
Yeah, that door just sweeps open.
What a bastard of a door. There's just no room, Jack.
You just made me realise, is that the door that, when Kate, not Kate, what do you call Rose, is having her dream and she's being welcomed by everyone.
Yeah.
See the door they open? Is that the door she was laying on?
Could be. James, if you're listening, message in.
Please let us know, James.
Is that going to blow your mind? She's still dreaming about that door.
That's the first thing she sees. Like, oh God, I can't escape this fucking door.
Jesus, Jack, I'm so sorry. But there was just no room.
That's why he's his back turned when he's at the top of the stairs. Like, I can't look at that fucking door.
And just in our little Banterflix group the other day, you did send the little name for all the pints. There's no room.
No room.
Yeah, so we're now on Titanic. So we're above the sea. Let's go back down.
Yeah.
So film starts very reminiscent for me, actually, looking now in 2023, the opening of Mission Impossible.
Oh, Dead Reckoning.
Yeah. Kind of with the whole submarine sequence. So they're opening up, there's the blip in the sea, there's a submarine, they're kind of trying to figure out what happens. They encounter this NFT? No, not NFT. That's
this image of a monkey on a screen.
That's a monkey. No, what is it they call them?
Oh, it's like it's not extraterrestrial. It's non-terrestrial life forms. So it's NTLs or something.
NTL.
Yeah.
Very confusing when we have NFTs.
Oh, of course.
In 2023. So they encounter this. They don't know what it is. The submarine then crashes, and then there's a race between the old commies and the Americans, and they're trying to recover the sub. And of course, this is where our team come in. And do you know what was weird? When I was watching this, I was kind of thinking it would make sense, and I'm waving my finger, so I know it's going to be a good point. Very good for an audio medium. Watching it, it's very reminiscent for me of the kind of grunts and truckers in space that you see in Alien. So you're kind of going, oh, maybe you could see why Cameron would have made Aliens. And I was kind of thinking in my head, did he make Terminator, The Abyss, and then Aliens? But no, he had made Aliens after Terminator.
Yeah.
But it's very, particularly when they're talking about being hired for the job, it reminds me a little bit of Armageddon as well, when it's like, you're going to get like triple your salary or your bonuses or whatever it is. And Ed Harris is like, no, this is above our pay grade, blah, 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 whatever it is. Like, I think this is going to be quite tricky. All right, fucking job's worth. Get your money. Everybody else wants it. But do you not find it when you're, and kind of visually, it reminds me quite a bit on that underwater rig, reminds me a lot of the Nostromo.
Yeah, no, that definitely comes into play with it, sure. Just going back to the likes of Aliens and that there, and even an extent Avatar, that's what he does well as well. He does a good like core group of characters that are going through a situation, because it's not just the Navy SEALs. It is that the group of oil rigger.
So you've got the oil riggers, you've got the Navy SEALs, and then you have Lindsay's character.
Yeah. But the thing about that is he always gives them little quirks that sort of just makes you think, oh, okay, there's the guy with the rat. There's a guy known as the Hammer.
He really does love the rat. Actually, they all love the rat.
Aye.
Like, even at the point where, I know we're jumping ahead with the film, but we said at the start, that there is spoilers. So near the end of the film, when Bud, Ed Harris's character, has to do this big free dive down
to get to the missile.
Is it 17,000 feet or something along that lines? They have to go down, and he's just before he's getting this helmet down, because of the pressure, he has to have this kind of water that you can breathe through that apparently, this is an IMDb trivia point. It's not me. I haven't done the research like you did, but that's a thing.
Yeah, you can breathe in the liquid, but the thing is, the people that made that stuff, they weren't on set. They only gave them like a list of instructions, like, this is how you make it, and you're like, are you sure? It's like, if they get that mix wrong,
Ed, come on and try this, son.
It's like, do you want to test it in the rat first? No. Come on, Ed.
But before he's about to get the helmet with the fill of water through it, he's sitting kissing the rat. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It's a cute white rat.
That's a lovely wee thing.
But I'm not going to be sitting kind of going, it's my best friend. His best friend. It's like The Simpsons coming back and say, his best friend was a pie. His best friend was a rat.
Exactly. No, that was a bit weird, and he's a bit of a strange character anyway. But the thing is, he's still memorable. You know, you compare it to other films that do similar things, like, oh, I was influenced by Aliens, or I was influenced by The Abyss, and then you watch it and you're like, aye, but you didn't take the lessons from it, did you? You don't make memorable characters or likable characters that you can latch on to without knowing a lot about them.
True. That's true. And then in amongst that, as we've mentioned, I think this is an interesting podcast to kind of talk about kind of when we think of roles and kind of juxtaposing and kind of changing and playing with our preconceptions. So you have, particularly on the back of Aliens and Terminator, so you have Michael Biehn in this, usually in both those films, a very likeable hero guy, here being role as pretty much the film's villain.
Yeah.
Of sorts, because he's someone kind of been driven by paranoia and struggling with the isn't it the pressure? The pressure, the kind of the isolation, not well isolations, but kind of the
whatever, like claustrophobia internally in a way.
Because there is a little bit where they kind of explain this, and it's like when they're going down, they're doing the dive quite quickly, and it's like, oh, keep an eye on everybody, make sure nobody's twitching. Fuck, I'd be sitting there kind of going, don't move. Don't move.
But at the same time, his hand's starting to go, and you're like, oh, fuck, no one picking up on that. Like,
his hand's away, and you're like, oh, it's fine.
Aye, but
just really need a pint. Had a pint last, and just need another pint.
That's the funny thing about that scene, because you're like, oh, 1 in 20 people get it, and he's kind of like, oh, it's not going to happen to me. And then next scene, his hand's going buck mad.
Yeah, but it's a different role for him, and I know in the next episode we think of Arnie in the first Terminator being cast as the villain, which I can't really think. Really, is Arnie the voice of the guy in Small Soldiers? Am I misremembering that?
What you mean, like the main?
Yeah,
no, that's Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah, you're right. I can't really think of, since we've seen Arnie. You're going to say something really obvious, where he's been the villain.
Not really. No. I think you're right. Not there probably is something, and someone will probably go, "Oh, well, there's this." And
I think you'll find, guys, it's this, and you're like, "Oh, fuck off. Fuck off!
It's not obvious.
Fuck off and listen to a proper movie review.
Oh
podcast.
Wait, no. I got it. Batman and Robin.
Oh yeah,
but he kind of gets redeemed, so it's not really.
And he does a lot of puns.
Yeah,
he loves an odd pun in that.
Ice to see you.
Yeah,
to see you, ice.
Yes, so Michael Biehn is the villain in this, of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it really works. I don't know, and it's not because I'm so used to him. Like we think of Hicks or as Kyle Reese as the lovesick time traveler. I came across time for you, Sarah. Fuck off. I don't know if it works in the same way that it worked for. Well, it's a weird way, because Arnie was kind of on the up. I think had Arnie. I know we're jumping between films, but had Arnie, was it Red Sonja and Conan? Maybe
he definitely done Conan, because they actually had to delay shooting the Terminator because he was busy making the sequel.
Yeah, so I don't think he would have been a star. So you probably wouldn't get away with him being that. But it's just when you watch it, it is kind of weird. It's a nice kind of we come in, you go, there's Michael Biehn. He's going to be the hero of this, or one of the heroes. And you're like, all right, okay. It's a nice kind of playing with our preconceptions, particularly when, as I said, you've already seen him in Terminator, Aliens. You know he's going to... don't know if he's a draw for a box office. I don't know. I mean, I do like him as an actor. I've met him a couple of times. See previous podcasts on discussions about that. I've seen him on good days. I've seen him on bad days. Bad days. I've seen him on good days. I've seen him on bad days. But we'll not kind of talk about that here. But did you find that weird? And do you think that worked, seeing him in that villain-ish role?
Well, I'm very surprised you didn't know he's a villain from the get-go, because that mustache just was a dead giveaway.
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought he might have just been doing Movember or something like that.
But no, it's like you. I did like the way...
I just love Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. But no, the thing about it is, like you were saying, it is a nice twist on, what your expectations are for this character. And I think his inclusion in it is like, you just need some sort of antagonist to sort of propel the action. You can't just rely on, say, like a natural disaster to like put the nuke back down there and so on and so forth.
Love.
Yeah. We bring you love. But yeah, I actually think he's great in it. I think he's fantastic, because there's scenes where you can see the paranoia get at him. It's literally the camera will just cut to him and his eyes are just darting back and forth.
I think he's good.
Stuff.
I just don't know.
Sorry,
I think he's good. I just don't know whether I buy him in that role. I don't know if I buy him as the villain.
So do you think even if they had a switch, say, Ed Harris with him, in terms of, the roles they played?
Get Bill Paxton in.
Who to play whose role?
Michael Biehn.
To play the villain?
Yeah, look how good he was in True Lies.
Aye, but he's he's basically the archetypal slimy.
Tell me that doesn't improve the film. Tell me it doesn't improve the film.
I don't know. Maybe it does. Yeah, you know what? You've got a point, but I'm just being stubborn.
All right. Well, yes.
He could have been Rat Boy.
Do you know what also is weird? And just because it popped into my head, actually, if you want to get a villain, do you notice it's weird seeing a young Ken Jenkins in the film?
Who's Ken Jenkins in it again?
Dr. Bob Kelso in Scrubs.
That's who that is.
Yeah.
That was annoying me. Yeah, he's sort of a pseudo villain.
He's kind of sort of. It's like, oh, there we go. You got typecast pretty early in your career.
Very much. I had no idea that was him. It was annoying me though.
You've got your other guy. Take my strong hand, child.
Oh yeah, I recognized him straight away, and I was like, yeah, he shouldn't be like driving a boat with that hand, like.
Shouldn't be fucking mashing potatoes.
You know what? Was he the one in the crane that causes the crash? Maybe he was like, I can't pull it up.
I need my strong hand, child. Yes. So we were talking about Michael Biehn. It's not, I don't know. It's just, I suppose because I've recently watched Terminator and I've watched this almost back-to-back, listeners, not to break the illusion when this next podcast is out. Don't want to break the illusion for you listeners. But it's weird when you think about kind of how good. I know Arnie doesn't have a lot of lines in Terminator, but how brilliant he is at the villain. How he's not really done that more since.
Villainous roles.
Yeah. Other than Batman and Robin, as we've now, worked out ourselves. I just don't know if that changing of that. I don't know if I would see Michael Biehn as the villain. I'm sure he's probably done, again, feel free to message in listeners, villainous roles since then.
Who, Michael Biehn in this case? He probably has. It's just his career choices after this weren't so great, unfortunately. So,
well, he pops up in the special edition of Terminator 2.
Yeah, he's not the lead scene with Sarah's which
is brilliant. I love
it's
that.
A nice scene. I do like it too. But yeah, bar that, I can't remember him being in anything of note that would be like a big major villain in something.
Sorry, Michael.
Yeah,
sounds listening.
Well,
still love you.
Well, he was in The Mandalorian there recently. He's starting to get little roles here and there. So hopefully he can sort of get back to bigger things.
He came across time for you, Joe.
Yeah. You know what? He might be in one of the new Avatars.
Could be.
James Cameron likes to work with old mates. So unless they've had a falling out, but I don't think they have. Who knows?
True. But looking back, you kind of mentioned this. I can't remember the name of the show that used to be on BBC One. It wasn't Live and Kicking. I know it wasn't that. But there used
Match of the Day.
Oh, Match of the Day. Back in the day, Des Lynam. There was a proper
Michael
show.
Biehn presenting with Gary Lineker.
Bill Paxton in the background.
Oh, I'd love Bill Paxton to present Match of the Day.
Oh,
that'd be amazing.
But I remember there was a show, and I can't remember. It was you were talking about kind of like the documentary behind the scenes. So they did little sections, and they were like, oh, how this was made or how that was it, because everyone was talking about the special effects for The Abyss. I think means some of them, even now, for a film that was released in 1989, still look amazing.
Yeah.
Some of them look a bit pants.
Yeah.
But I think that's just off its time. Some special effects were amazing, and he was definitely pushing boundaries. Other special effects, and let's be honest, he was probably pushing boundaries back then.
See, when you mentioned that, it just sparked a mental note I had for this here. See the actual alien ship?
Yeah.
I know he's intending that to be his, 2001 Spacegate or Stargate scene. Yeah, it looks like a Laser Quest zone area when they're going through it. I'm like, that's all I could think of was just the neon sort of decor of a Laser Quest.
Is that when Pearl Bud's been going around like the snowman?
Yeah, it's like, we're walking in the air.
We're swimming through the sea.
That's why it makes me think the aliens
the worst
he's
got to type it on his keyboard.
And we are walking. And he hits typing as well.
Yeah. And you know what? It's so very much, Bud is that much of a born bastard. Like, at no point did he kind of, in any of those go, lols.
I know, he's just like a typical, oil rig worker, just a working class sort of fella. He's going
is typed out.
He's like, it's so lovely. It's beautiful here. Can you describe it? It's cool.
See, I would be like, can you describe it for us? Wet. Lols.
Of course it is. You're underwater.
Babes.
I know.
LOL, babes.
LMAO.
Imagine if the keyboard just had emojis. That's all he could communicate through.
I'm wet, winky face. Oversheen.
Innuendo statement.
Yeah, it's a very Randy film, as you were saying.
Yeah, he's soaking indeed. So yeah, special effects are pretty. They are good for a film, and I'm looking forward to see. I mean, I'm imagining not. I don't know if he's going to be tinkering with the visuals from
he has. I think. Well, from what I just basically watching it, because I was like, right, I'll see what the 4K trailer looks like, and yeah, he has enhanced things. Like he's not done on George Lucas just throwing in a fucking stormtrooper or something underwater. Like he's
everybody has walkie-talkies instead of guns.
E.T. wasn't it? Oh god. No, he has tidied things up and made sort of ropey things a bit more believable.
Yeah.
So,
because I have to say, the bit where you see the underwater rig moving through the sea looks amazing.
Yeah.
For a film that is that old, so many, it is weird, because I've rewatched Alien not so long ago for no real connection to the pod, just was watching it, and even Aliens I have seen not so long ago. How they hold up.
Oh, big time.
And I would imagine, I don't know off the top, you'll know because you watched the documentary because you're a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
But it's miniatures, I'd imagine, and kind of models, as opposed to, other than kind of, we've already talked about kind of the Laser Quest moment near the end.
No, they actually had a big, the actual main rig underwater. That was a big life-size sort of thing. And then, but obviously some of the smaller rigs and that they were miniatures that they used in sets and that there. But yeah, they actually built the big thing. It was in a huge tanker that they built this thing. And it just looks fantastic. But that's why, you should, if you have a chance, watch the documentary. It's really a good insight in it. And going back to the actors, whenever they're speaking, you can tell the likes of Ed Harris and Maid Marian are just gritting their teeth going, yeah, it's been a hell of an experience doing this.
We should say, when we refer to Maid Marian,
I know, I can't say her surname. I'm
going to go with it, Mary Elizabeth Mastriano.
Mastriano. Okay,
that's what I'm going with Mastriano.
Yeah, I don't mean to be disrespectful there, but it's just I couldn't pronounce it for the life of me, even with it.
Are you trying to be like Akon here?
Yeah,
not trying to be this. I can't even get a version of that song. Damn, Maid Marian, you a sexy bitch. Ooh.
Oh, and that's not disrespectful then. There's I call you Maid Marian, but now I'm just calling you a sexy bitch.
When he kind of says, I'm trying to what is it? This is where I'm so on hip and down
you never
kids.
Seen before.
I'm trying to find a way to say these words without being disrespectful. Mary Elizabeth Mastriano, damn girl, etc. I just went off there.
Okay.
Hey Joe, I just want to say, I'm just going to say this, and I don't mean this. I know we're in 2023. I like to think of myself as a modern man, but see, the way you looked at me as I was there, as I was sitting here doing my little bit of rapping with a capital W, I've never looked so white in my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're drinking your freaking cappuccino there, and you think it's the spiciest thing known to man.
Oh, it's not even a
That's
toffee,
your version of hot ones.
It's not even a toffee nut latte.
Oh
it's just,
my God.
it's just a cappuccino. How modern man am I?
Well, compared to me, he's like, just give me a fucking cup of tea there.
We cup of tea, leave the tea bag in, and plenty of milk.
Aye.
90% milk, 10% tea bag, boy. Jesus.
You want a bit of tea in that milk?
Oh, here, come on, son. Let's
No
go.
sugar, though.
Come on, you up,
Jeez, I'm sweet enough for A.
Let's get back to talking about the abyss.
See, they'd be fine if they had a couple of bags of tea in that water. Could have drank it all up.
Do you know what else is weird? Right.
Okay, here we go.
Do you know what else is weird I find? And I know I am guilty on this pod over the years of having small hills I'm prepared to die on. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Mary Elizabeth Mastriano, her character Lindsay, she encounters, well, technically I think it's for the second or third time, this underwater entity.
Yeah.
The big, long kind of water...
Oh, the tentacle.
Yeah,
yeah,
the water
just call it
tentacle, right?
Yeah.
And she sticks her tongue out it, and she's like, "Oh, it's trying to communicate," and it's like, "All right, that's pants." She then pokes it. She pokes it, and not just like gently, like so. If you imagine, apologies, listeners, she kind of pokes it. There's a bit of water, and she's like,
I know. I was like,
salty.
Like, you dirty fucker. You don't know where that's been.
And you know what it reminded me of? And it's just because, again, how my head works. People get really annoyed with the Alien franchise post James Cameron.
Yeah.
And they always go, people go to these far-off planets and they do really fucking stupid things. Like Charlize Theron in the minute of a kind of blind panic when the big spaceship is falling down, or all she needs to do is turn left or turn right and she'd be all right. Or they go to this alien planet, they don't even wear fucking helmets. Don't even wear fucking helmets, and they're about fucking poking plants.
See if Ridley Scott was here now, you'd just go like, yes, go fuck yourself.
Ridley,
were you there?
Are you French? Fuck off.
They don't even like themselves.
Yeah.
Love them.
Yes, the world needs more Ridley Scott. But I was just like, there's fucking someone who's a supposed... Lindsay's a scientist, isn't she?
No, she designed the rig. She's
so she's okay. We'll get her away.
She's an engineer,
she's an intelligent woman.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
I don't think it comes back to, here's another tangent. Right, we're already 17,000 feet with the abyss. It's like that scene in The Stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Very opening scene. White stuff, just gurgles out of Earth. And Dawn, two big stupid bastards, are like, here, there's white stuff there on, not even in a clean internal room. It's like bubbling up on a rock. And they're like, here, let's taste it.
That could have been fucking bird diarrhea for all they know. Well, yeah,
that's quite tasty. I'll have some more.
Aye.
Do you not think that's where it made? I know I'm going off on a little bit of a rant because people, I remember, and I know there's the whole thing about Prometheus. And then I know there's stuff with the Alien Covenant, and as you've already said, Ridley Scott was here. All those criticisms, he would say, Joe,
fuck you, go fuck yourself.
Yes,
thank you.
He would. Thank you very much. And I tend to agree with Ridley Scott in that. It's like, fuck off. Just stop fucking picking and everything.
But see, the older I get, and it goes back to your original point as well, people can be smart.
You would find yourself with an underwater alien going, I'd poke it in the head.
I'd be fucking freaking out. I'd be like, what the fuck's that thing? Just I'd be running to another room.
While she's doing that, you just pull down her pants.
No, I wouldn't assault the poor woman.
You've been but you'd fucking assault your best mate with a big tsunami's about to come.
We're mates. We're all friends here. It's all right. I'd expect him to do the same to me.
Yeah. That's what he would have wanted.
Exactly. Put that in my headstone.
But you don't find that weird?
No, it is. And like I said, the older I get, the more I realise, people can be as intelligent as they are, but they are stupid.
Yeah. Can I make another thing again? Watching it in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible not to think of the Titan sub in the sequence with it, everything that happened early this year with Titanic, because there is a sequence where a sub implodes.
Aye. And
just coming back to Michael Biehn, spoiler, people tried to reassure us that those people wouldn't have suffered.
Well, for a split second they would. Turns from Michael Bean to Michael Bitch.
Well, well, the key thing is, so in that sequence, because he kind of I remember, because I covered it here at Q Radio when we were talking about it, and they kind of said, oh, it's kind of the pain receptors, it would have imploded quicker under that amount of pressure than you would have, the pain signals would have went up to your brain or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It would have been instantaneous. So with him, I know it's Hollywood, but there's kind of like, he looks at the glass in his sub, and he's like, oh, man.
Yeah, he just... yeah.
He's like Lucy, and that's what I Love Lucy.
Don't tell me you're going to bring Rat Race in. the busload of Lucille Ball.
And then it just explodes. That's not instantaneous.
Imagine a submarine full of Lucille Balls. Just go, a ball's going at once. Bang.
Oh, I blame Adam Neeson for the effect he's had in this podcast.
Oh, big time. But I hear.
Remember when we used to be serious and kind of talk about big things?
But we need a nice mix. You need a bit of levity.
Bands. Just debans someone.
Debans Lucille Ball. Oh God.
Right.
Yes.
Back into the room.
So yeah, see, the implode.
Did it even pop into your head at all? That when you were rewatching the film?
What, that actual event? It did, because I knew it was coming, but at the same time, it just didn't join the dots. And then when it actually happened, it was like, oh, that's when they were in that tin can.
That's why James Cameron knows all about it.
I was like, the Xbox controller did it make it all right? Did it implode? Can they reuse it?
Can I have it?
Yeah. And I know you lads are like, oh, nothing now, but can I have the Xbox controller?
Have you at least got a charger cable for it?
Just put it underwater until just connect it. But no, it did remind me of that moment, and I think that's one of the few times on screen where you see something like that happen in general, like with just the Abyss and beyond that. But very horrible way to go.
Yeah, it's a horrible, and it's a really well-made sequence, because I'm trying to think of, probably, I can't think of it being done before. I'm sure it has been on the big screen, probably more recently as well, but it stands the test of time, that sequence.
Well, that just goes back to James Cameron, his strengths. The man knows how to do a set piece.
Yeah.
And that's the perfect one, the way it just drifts off the edge, and then you realise you can't get control of it. The cracks appear, he realises, and then boom, implosion. Fantastic stuff.
No, Lucy. No, not that. Yes. So we've talked quite a bit. I think we've actually talked a fair bit about plot. Anything else you want to kind of refer to? We haven't really talked about
the relationship
and the relationship.
Yeah, the relationship between Ed Harris and
Bud and Lindsay.
What?
Bud and Lindsay.
Oh yeah, Bud and Lindsay. Yeah. I always forget her name in the film. I'm awful with names when it comes to that. But Bud and Lindsay.
You just keep calling her.
No, I'm not. No more Maid Marian. Enough of that.
Maid Marian, Jesus, you've only got over Kevin Costner.
Alan Rickman's right there. Yeah, I really liked how he handled their relationship and the way they're written, and that they're just the way they butt heads all the time, and then eventually how the disaster brings them together again. I know people might think, oh, it's smalchy and over sentimental, but that's what James Cameron does. He's always done that.
I don't think it's not too smalchy in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
I think in the special edition, and all the aliens are like watching all this stuff, and you're like, guys, can you not like put on Netflix or Disney Plus, anything, even fucking ITVX, instead of just sitting, we watched this video of your texting your lovely... Are they ex-wife? Are they still married?
They're married, but they're going to go through
separated.
Divorce.
Yes.
Yeah, because he mentions, he calls her Mrs. Whatever her name is.
But they're like, oh, we saw your lovely text to your estranged wife.
Is that Hans Gruber?
Yeah. We will count to 3. There will be no tsunami.
her.
Yes. It is too schmaltz. I mean, I quite like that sequence with his character putting on the space suit deep diving
suit,
suit and the water and the kind of relationship between the two, and kind of it's like, and then also the chat as he's going down because he starts to suffer not from the bends but kind of the effects of that amount of pressure from being underwater
and going that fast and everything like that. Yeah,
and it's like, oh, really sorry that I had to say, you're all right. Like she doesn't. I think she does say she loves him, but I think at the same time she's just like, you're all right. I'm sorry. She makes a joke like, I'm such a cold-hearted bitch that I had to wait till you were in a dark going in the water, and I'm doing this by text, whatever it is, to say that I love you.
Yeah,
I don't think it's too smulch. I just think, and that's why I find the special edition finale more jarring in the sense that it kind of feels it feels out of place because it's quite a claustrophobic, atmospheric kind of feature.
Aye.
You know, it's set within this rig. There's a couple of outdoor sequences. That big over-the-top tsunami sequence across the way, it just feels a wee bit OTT. I know in the theatrical cut there is the spacecraft kind of whatever it is, the underwater craft coming up, and it looks a bit like the bit from Aquaman.
Oh yeah, I know what bit you're talking about.
Yeah,
but for me that didn't bother me because it's sort of the film coming full circle at that stage, you know, in the theatrical cut, because like, okay, they start above water, they go underwater, they do what they do, and then they resurface.
Yeah,
that's fine because the bit where they re-emerge, that's 5 minutes at the end of the film, and that's it.
Yeah,
and that's another thing. It's refreshing. It just ends. No, there's none of this. Oh, and let's have an epilogue where we'll explain where the aliens are from, why they're here, all this, that, and the other. It's like, you don't need that because it's their story as such.
If James was making The Abyss now, he'd say, like, we're going to make that in 5 films' time.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's going to tie them together.
Oh, I hope he doesn't.
No, he won't. No, he's more Cincinnati. Like, no, I'm done with David. Plus, all the crap he nearly died making. It's like, I don't really want to go back to. Maybe that's why he took so long to restore it. He's like, I'm done with you. But then at the same time, there's no physical release.
At the same time, he's like, here, I'll jump back in the sea for fucking Titanic here.
But that was a funny thing on that documentary. He said, I never want to make a film underwater again. And then, sure enough, he went off it for 2 films. And then he's like, Titanic would be a good lead story.
But that's like Daniel Craig saying, I don't want to make another Bond. I'd rather slit my wrists.
No, he does too.
Yeah. He'll probably come back again.
He won't. No, he won't. No, it's done, it's done. Plus, you know, there's not much left of his version of Bond.
Or is there?
No,
Jim,
there's no way.
The nanobots can rebuild him.
Oh, God. No, don't put horrible ideas out there.
Barbara, if you're listening, we can bring Daniel
you
back.
Know what? People give producers shit. She's one of the ones that sort of gets things consistently more right than wrong. So I'm all for Barbara and what she's doing.
Oh, yeah, totally agree.
Bab's doing a good job.
But if you're listening, I'm just giving you an option. If you can't get who you want to get to be Bond, just be like, oh, we brought Bond back with nanobots.
But have you not seen what he looks like now? These days, he looks like a Belgian finance minister.
Perfect. That's what I want for my James Bond.
A Belgian finance minister.
That's exactly what I want. Because you could just have it at the opening of the film, somehow Bond returned. That's it. That's all you need to say. That solves all problems.
Oh, of course, there was no controversy when that was used in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Somehow Bond returned.
Yeah. Just like somehow Lucille Ball returned after dying in the decompression accident.
And somewhere in the background when Bond is back, all you hear is Palpatine going, good.
You turn into Dracula?
Yeah.
Gary Oldman's Dracula.
What can I say? I'm not good with impressions.
That's why they're the best kind of impressions. Yes. It's when you get it sort of not entirely wrong, just that you're doing an impression of something else.
99.9% wrong.
They're the best.
0.1% right. So I love the kind of chemistry between Ed and Mary Elizabeth. I think you don't see enough of her, I think, in films. I can't think of that many roles. We've already mentioned, she's in Robin Hood. I don't think I think if I remember right, I could be misremembering this, because I know at the start of this year, I got the chance to speak with the writers and producers of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Go back to that pod. It's one of my favourite we've done. Much more serious and on point than this. But I don't know if I had read it in the research. Remember when I used to say I used to do that. or whether they mentioned, I think she wasn't originally cast. I think it was somebody else. She kind of came into that role. I could be wrong. I know Alan Rickman and Kevin Costner were definitely the choices for those roles. But I don't think she has the great chemistry with Kevin Costner. And I mean, it's not that I don't buy it. And I think she's good in that role in her own right. But the whole point is Robin Hood and Maid Marian. I don't know whether and just to really empathize or really back up this point, you can't get this, listeners. You can see this. I'm smishing my hands together. I don't really know if I buy the chemistry between the two, but I think it works really well here with Ed Harris and her in that role.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I think
that was the most roundabout fucking trying to point I'd ever tried to make in quite some time in this pod.
And I've just answered with simple. You're right there. So next point. No, it does work really well between the two. And I think it's sort of the mixture between the sort of intensity of Ed Harris as an actor in general, and then her, like she rises to the occasion. She sort of stands up to him from an acting point of view. Like she doesn't you sometimes see actors perform with each other and one person clearly shrinks in the presence of another. She matches his intensity and sort of bravado, and that's what makes them work in a way.
Because I've just very quickly went on IMDb, because that's all factoids come from there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just reading the other film I can see her in. I remember going to see in the cinema in the States when I was there as part of an exchange, The Perfect Storm is the only thing I can remember in.
Was she in The Perfect Storm?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the last big-ish film that she's been.
She played the tidal wave.
Yes.
Yeah.
She got influenced by the Abyss. Didn't make the theatrical there, but I'm ready to do it here.
She was full method.
Yeah.
Just walking around the place, just
fucking sinking Marky Mark.
Back when he was Marky Mark. Although I think he was Mark Wahlberg at this point.
Nah, just call him. He's always Marky Mark.
And George Clooney, gorgeous George.
Now he's just telling you in his Instagram every Sunday to say your prayers.
Do you ever? Well, obviously you've seen The Perfect Storm. Such a depressing film.
Oh, that ending's so bleak. When
you're
you
just
think
like,
about
oh, because I didn't know the story, and I remember seeing it because I've talked about this before. I was on an exchange, so it was children that were affected by LA riots, children that were affected by the Oma bomb. Not to say that I wasn't, and me, because my dad was in the chief of transport.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is a cross-community project. Can you be the cross-community element of this trip? And I was
sounds like The Perfect Storm to me.
Yeah, and I was like, and it was like, I always remember being sold that trip so well.
Yeah.
This is the therapy that this podcast is. At school, used to come up to my dad's work because he'd get the bus home. It was either get the bus home and then have to walk for 15, 20 minutes, maybe longer, up an old steep hill, or I could go, right, well, if I go home 3:30, Dad'll be leaving work at 5. I'll go up, either, bullshit, do a bit of homework in his office, or, this is how long ago this is, if any listener, I don't even know if you'll remember this, so Chris Moyles, that wonderful presenter, that is just a nice guy, wonderful guy, bullshit, but he, before he did the breakfast show on Radio 1, he used to do from 3 o'clock, I think it was 3 to 5 on Radio 1.
Right.
And I used to go and just sit and listen to the car, or not listen to the car, not put my ear to the fucking car.
This is better than Chris Moyles.
Jesus. No, I used to go in, sit in the car, and either do a bit of homework in the car and listen to Chris Moyles on the radio. And I remember one day, Dad came out, because Dad smoked like an absolute chimney. He was out with this guy, and it was that kind of thing. It was almost like a Father Ted sketch where they're out talking and just gesticulating, blah, 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 blah. And I seen Dad pointing at me. And I was like, oh, what the fuck have I done? And this guy, who I've never met in my life, Ronnie Russell, God rest him, walked down to the car and just kind of tapped on the glass. Because back in even the day, it had
to wind it down.
You had to crank it. And I was like, hi, how are you? I forget how old I would have been. Well, that's 2000. So I would have been kind of, in around, this way, 15. I've been 15.
Okay.
And kind of sitting there, like, oh, hi, yeah. It's like, James, talking to your dad there. How do you feel about going to the States? It's like, what is my dad sending me away?
What have I done?
It's like, has he had enough of me? It's like, no, told me this whole project, this idea, Spirit of LA. I don't think it's stayed, unfortunately. It was kind of like an idea to rival the Duke of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And the idea was to bring children affected by gang riots in LA, and then children affected by the Oma bomb. And as I say, me. And the first time they got the short straw, they had to come here. and then we got to go over there. So when I came here, I got to take this girl, Alicia, lovely girl, and we have kind of lost touch a little bit of late. We used to be, back in the day, before emails and stuff, pen pals.
Oh,
I was a wee
nice.
nerd. I had a couple of pen pals. I still have, funny, I found the letters not so long ago of a lot of them going, "How are you? I had a wonderful day." It was like really boring as fuck letters. I would have
Just the driest thing.
Yeah, like, "Oh, I had a lovely day today in LA. We went to the beach." You're like, "Oh, right, lovely." But we took her to Portrush. I remember vividly kind of going like, "Oh, it's going to be amazing. We're going to go to Kelly's." And she was like, "This is a roller coaster for you?" And you're like, "Yeah, it's amazing." And she's like, "Yeah, wait till you come over to the States." So the real fucking short version of the story I should have been told was we then a year later got to go over to them. And I remember them taking this big, huge cinema somewhere in the middle of LA. I don't think it was one of the big famous ones. Mm-hmm. And we went to see The Perfect Storm. And I remember being broke that film. Because there's a sequence, isn't it, where is it Mark Wahlberg or is it George Clooney? Like the boat's underneath the water and he kind of comes out and he's like looking up and he's like, "Yeah, fuck it." I might be misremembering it.
No, it is George Clooney does that, because then there's the other bit with John C. Reilly and someone else. They're just slowly drowning.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, what? Are they gonna be all right?" No, and that's just harrowing. And,
yeah. So there we go. That's the only other film I can think of her in from IMDb.
Yeah.
Another thing I remember from that was the first time ever experiencing, because you've done Canada and stuff. So I don't know what. Did you live in the States?
No, I've visited the States when I was in Canada, but I'm sure some of the things wouldn't be different. Why? What do you sort of?
No, because I just remember that was the first time ever going to an American cinema, and like the sizes of popcorn and stuff.
Oh no, it was same in Canada.
Oh,
like,
Jesus, boy! It was like, yeah, you could live in that.
Aye, like a bloody small. There's a large here. You know,
they were like, oh, for like $1. I always remembered like for like $1 extra, you can get a medium. I was like, all right, and the medium was like the small was probably like our large.
Yeah,
I was like, that's all right. Okay, I'll go for it. Vroom. Jesus.
They just wheel like the big machine that makes it. It's like, "That's your medium, sir."
Because that was the first time I ever went. Because you always see it in like sitcoms and movies and stuff where you could put the stuff over the popcorn.
Oh, the butter.
Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, this is amazing." It was dripping.
Aye, but then you have it like salt, soggy, and shite.
Yeah, I didn't eat a lot of it. And then I felt really bad. I was just sitting munching my popcorn. "Oh, fuck, this is amazing. Fucking special." And
then they start dying. You're like, "Oh, I feel bad." This reminds me of when I went to see Hunger. My mate brought in a big, large popcorn. It's like, I don't think that's the kind of film you should bring a popcorn into.
I have a very vivid memory. My late father used to love this story. In a previous form of employment that I'm not doing now, I used to sell kitchens at a well-known retailer that may rhyme with Bone Base. I couldn't think of anything. And a person who I worked with there, who shall remain nameless, said to me one night, it's like, "Jim, do you want to go down to the cinema tonight?" It's like, sorry. "Jim, do you want to go down to the cinema tonight?" It's like, yeah. What do you want to go see?" "Oh, I want to go see Hunger." It's like, "We're going to go down with bread rolls and throw them at the screen." And I was like, "Oh, geez." I'm sorry if anyone's listening is offended by that.
But it's just... And you know, the thing about that is just the ridiculousness of it. Like, who pays to go to film to throw bread rolls at a screen?
I do think he was.
I know the subject matter,
I
but
think
like,
he was joking.
I hope so. It'd be wild.
Knowing the guy, I hope he was joking, but he's certain he was joking. But it was just like, I remember telling my dad this, and Dad had a stroke at this point, and he wet himself. He just
Understandable.
He thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. But on another note, Hunger, definitely seeking out. Very good film.
Very good film. Don't bring bread rolls to...
Don't bring bread rolls. Don't throw anything at the screen. And don't watch it and The Perfect Storm for an upbeat double bill.
Yeah, don't be going for the lulls, because you're not going to get many.
No. But anyway, The Abyss.
Yes. I think we've talked more about other things in The Abyss.
This is the effect that Adam Neeson's had on us.
Effect. Yeah. But yeah, I think.
Do you think we should make like a thing? Do you know the way you've got like the Doppler effect? Do you think we should do like the Neeson effect? Then people get confused with that and Liam Neeson instead of Adam Neeson. So it's like the Neeson effect has just made us kind of we want to be silly instead of being serious.
Aye, but we've managed to do both.
I remember when we talked about True Lies, we got kind of deep and meaningful in that one. And
no, we didn't. You just talked about fucking Jamie Lee Curtis stripping all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was the start of the man.
Jamie Lee!
Get out the ditties! No.
We're modern men.
Yeah.
We're not throwing bread rolls at any film screen.
But we like to evoke our inner childish teenager now and again.
Yeah.
Hasn't gone away, you know.
Mine never left at all. So yes, I don't really know. Is there much more we need to say? I've kind of talked about the special edition.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to call it I suppose it is the alternative ending. And I know we kind of talked a little bit in Titanic about the alternative ending to that film.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that in the Titanic.
I think I just brought it up, and that's about it.
I mean, which do you prefer?
Oh, the theatrical one, 100%.
Because I don't know if I'd asked you that or not during the pod.
No, I don't think you did. But at the same time, yeah, it's the theatrical one all the way, because like we sort of alluded to, it just seems like a complete shunt, and out of nowhere it's like, oh, look, we have to stop you humans because you're going to kill yourselves. Look at the way you act.
Humans are bad, okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just pure the day the earth stood still stuff. And you're like, yeah, you're just shoving that in there, and it doesn't really tie in with the rest of the film as fluidly. Bit of water. Yeah, it doesn't tie in with the rest of the film as well. So I'm kind of glad they went with the version they did go with. In that, save the day, the alien ship, rises to the surface, and they all live happily ever after. It's a nice wee end.
Cut to credits.
Yeah, that's. It's like I said, a lot of modern filmmakers need to take that lesson.
Not like Peter Jackson with The Hobbit. Let's do 5 different endings. Not The Hobbit, but that fucking film is making 3 films out of 1.
Yeah, that's basically Return of the King times 3.
Yeah.
But no. I don't mind Return of the King. He's just trying to be faithful-ish to the books. But no, just in general, you just think of like, and now we have to have this extra scene for no reason. Maybe just to give the audiences a wee laugh. It's like, but it's pointless.
Ed Harris having a dump.
I was like, oh, jeez, I've been underwater too long. I'm going to shit
myself. Oh, Jesus, the pressure.
There's something decompressing downstairs here.
I love that. Just imagine that as a post-credit sting to The Abyss. Everything so Ed has saved the day, saved the world, and it just cuts to him.
I can do you one better. He's in the bog, right? He's just after finishing. He flushed the toilet. Little does he know his wedding ring's falling down at the end. He's like, oh no.
Back down again we go.
That doesn't feel like a wedding ring. Oh God. It's the foreshadowing of that scene could have worked so well as a post-credit scene, but no, James Cameron, he shit out of it, literally.
Yeah. Well, what a shit ending.
Yeah.
We've made it better.
Absolutely.
The Banderflix cut. That's what we should do. The Banderflix cut of
The Abyss.
Of The Abyss. Of all films, just any films, how we can improve it. But we'll not do that. I think we've probably got quite rambly and quite silly. But I think we have been largely positive. And I guess, the whole point of this is more than pixels on a screen. I think without a doubt, The Abyss, it hits that category. There's a lot there, both technically to admire, that have stood the test of time, and you can see how it's influenced filmmakers. We always talk about that kind of young filmmakers coming up. You've mentioned this with the fact that there's documentaries, director commentaries and stuff that you can look into. Filmmakers like James Cameron. We said this before with Titanic, we've said it before with True Lies, and we said it probably with Avatar, in the way he kind of approaches his craft. It's always interesting to kind of listen and read about kind of his style and the things that have influenced him. So I know I'm kind of rambling here, but it's that sense of being able to get these now being re-released. I know Chris Nolan has been championing physical media, as has James Cameron. I always say, they're not technically free film schools, or they're not free film school, because you have to buy the Blu-ray. So it's like 20 quid. But that's what I'm looking for. I don't know what is on the Blu-rays as we record. I'm sure there's going to be new documentaries, new interviews, retrospectives.
Could even be that, the Under Pressure
Ed Harris just been going, so tell us about the film. Tell nothing.
I'm not telling you anything.
Yeah.
You fuck way off.
Go for or the option with Ridley Scott.
I just, you open the disc and you put it in, it's just like him on the lip going, yes, go fuck yourself, thank you. For like 3 hours. And you're like, when's the Abyss starting?
That would be heaven for me.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, but I guess the point is the fact that if we can get it in physical media, because unfortunately, when we live in an age now of streaming, and I know when you buy stuff on iTunes, I think you can, there's options with extras, you can kind of look in, but there's nothing beats a Blu-ray and you get the 2-disc version.
Yeah.
If you're Adam Neeson, you have to go for the Steelbook edition, and then the Joker edition where it's the Abyss on the out cover on the outside, but inside it's just,
No, he has to buy every version of Joker known to man. Yeah. Like he's buying like the discs from South Korea.
He's single-handedly saving physical media.
That's why they're making a sequel to Joker, just for him.
Ah, fuck, don't get me started on that. But anyway, that's that idea that you have the option now, again, to go back and look at all these stuff. I know you said they're on YouTube as well, but I'm looking forward to see what the extras are, because I think it's True Lies in this remaster.
Yeah.
So True Lies, which we know we've already touched on, go back and listen to that podcast. Aliens, The Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another one?
Well, the Terminator 2 one was out a few years ago.
Yes.
Because remember, there's the version where they put like Arnie's face over the stunt persons and stuff like that.
But I don't think Terminator's not been done.
I don't know if it has or no. I think you're right. I don't think it has been done. Titanic was, obviously.
Yes. Which then brings us nicely. So, Joe, what's the next film? Do you want to wet our listeners' whistle a little bit? Talk about Wet Willies earlier on. Do you want to set them up a little bit about what they're going to look forward to if they haven't seen Terminator, what they can look forward to when we sit down to talk about that?
Well, what can you really say about the Terminator that hasn't already been said, that we're going to try and say and put our own wee Bannerflick spin on it? But
yeah, we're going to talk like 1% about the Terminator.
Oh yeah, and then
99.9%
about Arnie's arse when he shows up. Let's be realistic here, Jim. Right. So there's going to be Arnie's arse. There's going to be a bit of Lyndon Hamilton, bit of Michael Biehn, little bit of Bill Paxton. We're going to talk about the effects, but yes, we'll go into that. And
so you've that to look forward to,
there's
listeners.
A wee plot hole or two as well that we can discuss that might bring up annoyance or hilarity, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah, and we have everyone's favourite, as you've already mentioned, everyone's favourite lovesick time traveller.
Mm-hmm.
He came across Time for You, Joe.
Yes, he did. And
came across Sarah.
Oh, no.
No. He came across Time for You, Joe.
And I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I'm taken, unfortunately.
Can we just be mates, please?
Maybe, but you kind of freaked me out with the first comment.
Is that the point then where the big tsunami comes and you just pull his pants down?
No, it's like I'll just give him a nod as if to say, sorry, mate.
That'll do.
Just yank him down.
That'll do, Kyle. That'll do. So yes, so I think that brings this podcast to a close. Thank you for listening. If you've hung about right to the end, there are some previous episodes within More Than Pixels on a Screen, More Than Pixels on a Screen's back catalogue, when we're talking specifically about James Cameron. We have Avatar, True Lies, and Titanic. And our next one, we're going to be talking about Terminator. So you've got that to look forward to. So that's all from me this week. And that's all from Joe.
Yes, thanks very much for having me on, Jim.
Always a pleasure. And I'm going to let Joe now pull down my pants as we stare into the abyss. No pun intended. And we'll be back next week with another episode. But for now, goodbye.